Here goes.
It's Monday, the 20th of April, 2026, and this is my first ever video on my personal YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time coming, and this one is just going to be a big introduction to my life, what I get up to, what I do as my job. I hope to build a little community and share my journey, and hopefully it helps other people who are in a similar industry. I want to do this to have something to look back on, to be proud of, and also to hopefully inspire and help a lot of other people along the way. Wanted to make 2026 the year where I care a little less and just go for it. Cheers and happy Monday. So where do I even start? My career has been a bit of a crazy one. To sum it up before we go into detail, I spent 8 years in engineering. I walked away from a career that I thought I really wanted. It took me a long time to admit I just wasn't happy. And I've now built my social media travel platforms to around 180,000 across platforms in the last 2 years. Today's video, I want to tell the full, honest story of why I left, why I chose to do what I do now, what I was feeling at the time, how I accidentally fell into the creator world, something I never would have put myself in before. And if you're someone who is feeling torn about the life you think you should stay in and the life you really want, I hope this video resonates with you. And welcome to the weekly vlogs. There's so much I've learned so far from starting as a creator that I didn't have a clue existed, like apps you can use, technology, how to really review your stats. I am going to show you everything on. I'm not afraid to share what I'm earning, what platforms pay out well, and I'll document the journey on YouTube as well of that progress and see how we go and what you need. I hope this is a real platform where you can learn, have fun, get to know me. I find this world can be lonely at times, so it'd be great to connect to you guys as well, no matter what part of your journey you're in, or if you're just coming here and having a couple with me. I just often see the finished product online. Someone on a brand trip, for example, or someone hitting 500,000 followers. And I found when I was starting out, I had to learn it all for myself. And I want to create this platform to hopefully give you a leg up, help you accelerate slightly, tell you everything I know and see if it helps you. I've just about turned this into a full-time wage, but obviously you don't know what you're going to get paid next month, the month after. It can be a roller coaster. So I'm excited to share how I'm building my income, to have multiple sources of income, to not rely on one platform, one brand, etc. Shall we rewind to my younger self? So when I was younger, I always had, I think, very different sides to me. So there was a side that I did so much extracurricular, like dancing, singing, drama. I was so lucky to be able to do all that. I grew up not sure whether I wanted to go into like the musical theatre world, the dancing world, or kind of a more secure vocational path. In school, I enjoyed maths, I enjoyed science-ish, more maths, didn't really like English. Was definitely more of a methodical, logical thinker. I liked finding solutions, problem solving, all that. I did like the academic side of school. I liked really working hard and trying to succeed. I did well in my GCSEs, A-levels, etc. Creative dancing, singing, drama, all that side of me did kind of stop when I was in sixth form. I ended up naturally leaning towards something that I thought was a more sensible option. I went to an amazing school, but we were definitely only pushing medicine, law, engineering, them types of vocational career paths. Obviously, they do provide a great wage, but looking back in my own life, and if I had kids, I'd say the same thing. Like, no matter what you want to do in life, you can become the best at it. And if you love something that much, money-wise, like the wage will come. There's so much power in loving what you do. There's going to be little things that you don't like, but overall, if you enjoy what you do, you're going to try so much harder, even if it means having a full-time job, working on it of an evening until the point you can quit. Chase what you love. Life's too short. I guess at that age, when I was 18, I felt not peer pressured, but definitely wanted to look clever. I genuinely think that's why I initially chose engineering. My school will think I am going into a good career. I will be looked at as smart. Honestly, I think I was in a mindset of like really trying to choose an option that other people thought was a good career. It's silly how much you get in your own head when you're 18, 19. And obviously, like when you're at that age, you actually just don't know what you want to do anyway. People say to find your purpose, but I think you should just do more of the things that make you happy. If you do something and enjoy it, do it again and again and again. And to find that feeling of passion and happiness, you need to try so many different things. So I went down the engineering route. I don't want to sit here and think and say it was wrong, it was a bad decision, because it definitely wasn't. I would do the same path I have done over and over again. It taught me so much. I do still love problem solving. I do still love strategy. I still love project management. There are so many parts of that world that genuinely suit me. So I left school. I did take a gap year. I did some fun things like climbed Mount Kilimanjaro for Marie Curie. I travelled quite a lot. The signs were all there. For my gap year, I decided to do a degree apprenticeship at Jaguar Land Rover. This was an unbelievable experience. It was 6 years long. 4 of the years, so the first 2 years I did a HNC qualification, which is like a below degree level qualification. The last 4 years I did my degree in Warwick Uni in applied engineering. So it was an unbelievable course. They still do it, but I think it's only a 4-year course now. My degree from it, which was funded by them. I went to uni about 1 week every 6 weeks. So the other 5 weeks in between, I was in the factory in a full-time job, treated as a full-time employee. The people there really helped me grow. It was going into a corporate world at like 18, 19, to lead meetings and speak in front of 20, 30, 40, 50 men who are all really advanced professionals. I was thrown in at the deep end and it taught me so much. I was just beyond grateful for that opportunity. I stayed there for 8 years. I did 8 years in Jaguar Land Rover, and it was only when COVID happened that things started to change. So I always knew I needed to get my degree. I wanted to complete my apprenticeship. I had ups and downs. It was a tough apprenticeship, but I really wanted to do it. I got a first class in my engineering degree, which I was over the moon about. I worked so hard there. I finished my apprenticeship. Finished my degree. I went into a job there that I was put in based on vacancies that were available. They do really support you to get a full-time job at the end of your apprenticeship. And it just wasn't really where I wanted to be. I didn't love it. I kind of lost my passion for it. And when COVID hit, my eyes were open to the world of entrepreneurship, which I'll talk about now. It's like after I come back from COVID, I had a whole new mindset on what I wanted to do in life, and I felt myself not trying as hard in my corporate job and things like this. So I struggled with the fact from the outside. It looked like I was doing really well. I was really happy. I had the career, I had the structure. I was able to save and buy my first flat with my partner, which was amazing. But internally, I felt so much more disconnected from the person I used to be. I felt like I'd lost my energy and my drive. I knew I had so much more to give. I just didn't know what in. Got to the point where I felt really, really unhappy, and I felt like I just wasn't giving it my best at all. And I felt embarrassed about that I wasn't trying at work. It really bothered me because I'm not the type of person that does things like half-heartedly. I want people to know that I'm trying my best and I'll do anything. Well, I'm quite a sensitive soul. An uncomfortable feeling of not feeling grateful because I had so many things that I wanted. There was so many parts of my life where I was so happy. And so many people will say to you when you're in a secure, well-paid job that the grass isn't always greener. But I just couldn't help but think there was an itch that I had to scratch. After having these feelings, it was around the time of COVID in 2020. And the world of entrepreneurship entered my life spontaneously and it wasn't intentional, but I fell into the world of business. During lockdown, I started a little side hustle called Gift and Graze. It basically started because I made a bit of a sweet box for my friends, threw lots of like pick and mix style sweets, and I made the box quite aesthetic and sent it to my friends during COVID as a little pick me up when everyone was stuck inside. And I did a couple more, and then basically someone wanted to buy one off me, and I was like, no, I'll just make it. And then I think it was my sister who said, you should put that on Instagram, just start posting them on a little Instagram page. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to create a little page called Gifts and Grays, started uploading them. Was not something, making Grays boxes was not something I ever was passionate about, to be honest. It was just something for fun that I did for my friends. Wow, that was my first ever taste of building something for myself. I made about £4,000 in 4 weeks of these little sweet boxes. It was crazy. I loved the creativity. I loved just making something from scratch. I loved the buzz of people wanting to buy it, the amount of messages I was getting, how busy I was. But it was also really stressful as time went on. I was working crazy hours when I was on furlough. People were turning up at my door at the wrong time. My boundaries was awful. I was in a constant state of anxiety, not sleeping, waking up in the middle of the night, thinking someone was at the front door asking for the Grays box. It was crazy. I was getting up about 4 a.m. and going to bed at like 2 a.m. Built it up to about 23,000 followers. Always loved social media, so it was a chance for me to also have a little go at building a social media page. Learned how to do a lot of reels, did the behind the scenes reels, even ended up doing a whole Christmas experience in Liverpool where I sold a lot of products and did a grotto experience. I had 800 people come through the doors in 2 days. I worked so hard on this little side hustle, but it wasn't a sustainable business. I genuinely don't know how I did it for that long. I had great fun with it, but it left me in a constant state of panic. I wasn't saying no because I wanted to ride the wave with the momentum, and I wanted to build the momentum with it. I loved the building side. I learned everything about business, how to even register a business, start your taxes, do social media, your profit margins, everything you needed to know to build and manage a business. It was so interesting. And again, everything's part of the journey. And the more things you're not afraid of having to go at and even failing at, it'll end up leading you to the right place. I actually struggled talking about that business because of what I went through. I got to the point where I drove myself to a point where I was really ill and couldn't get out of bed for like 2 weeks. I mean, when I say I'm an all or nothing person, I am, and it's lent me, like, now that I'm almost 30, I'm at the point where I'm finding real peace in just enjoying the process and not thinking I should be somewhere else and should be more successful than I am. And to be honest, it's ended up working more in my favour, and I think people can see more the joy in what I'm doing, and it grows naturally in that way anyway, without panicking about it or stressing. So yeah, I had that attempt of business number 1. It definitely left me thinking I love the feeling of being self-employed. I was friends with a lot of small businesses online, and I created a website where I'd sell my Grays boxes, and I basically turned it into a bit of a marketplace and would also sell other people's products on my little site. And it was a bit of a website to promote small independent businesses around Liverpool and the UK. And yeah, that just ended up making it ridiculously hard to manage. The profit margins were smaller than ever. I couldn't keep up with just paying normal bills. It was so stressful, and I wasn't putting the time and energy into it because of the fact I was back in my full-time engineering job as well. So because I had to do a lot of the physical labour of it, I didn't really have much time to do anything else. For about 1.5 years. So this went on from about, I carried the page on a little bit, would just take on less orders, make the whole thing a bit less, intense and less stressful for myself. And I carried it on for about 1.5 years, but it was just getting a bit slower and slower, to be honest, because it was a real lockdown hobby. And because lockdown did go on for about 1.5 years, it was for that period. So when everything got back to normal, decided to call it a day, which was a brave thing to do, because I think, again, from the outside, everyone thought it was building fast. There was lots of momentum. But I knew it wasn't a forever thing. It was just something that was really fun at the time, and it taught me so much. I ended up going full force into it and causing myself to get sick and get a lot of stress. But yeah, I learned so much from that experience, so much. And I don't regret doing it at all, because it's all part of my journey. And I think now, when I talk about my travel stuff in a bit, a lot of people thought that come quite naturally to me. But you'll see from this video, it was kind of I wouldn't say failure, but it was, I'd try one thing, didn't really work. I'd try another thing, didn't really work. Tried another thing, didn't really work. And when the travel thing worked, I'd had about 10 years of social media experience by this point without people really knowing that if they were a new follower to that page. You also don't need to prove to people that as well. Like, you just ride the success, you know you've worked hard for it. So travel became the turning point. So when I decided to shut Gifts and Grays, I closed the business down. It wasn't really earning much anyway. It wasn't a big deal. I wasn't at a point where I was like financially ready to quit my job, like engineering job. I had a mortgage to pay, but I was thinking I need to try another side hustle. I need to try something because I didn't want to go into another engineering job. And I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? Obviously, I'm a content creator, but it was never something that was intended to be for business purposes. That thing I was living for during my whole time in my corporate job was travel. Every holiday felt like I could just breathe again. Every holiday gave me a whole new perspective on life. It made me feel like my worries were really small. Every trip felt like the version of me that I loved. I loved finding so many unique places. I would spend hours researching destinations before we got there to find really cool places that I'd not really seen anyone post about. I'd plan every little detail. I'd take so many photos. We would spend a lot of our wage, a lot more than we should have, but no regrets, on experiences. I definitely was not a materialistic person. I just loved adventure. I loved exploring. I would take so many videos. Obviously, I love social media. I had my little personal Instagram, and I'd often get so many messages only off like friends and family because it was just a little private page saying, oh, where's this? What's this? Can you send me this? So I knew I always had a bit of an eye for finding things. This was before TikTok was like the search engine for travel. I've always loved watching how like content can influence people in a really positive way, how it can help businesses, how it can make someone book somewhere and by seeing a place completely differently than what you thought it would be like, how it can make someone buy something. I just found that whole world so interesting. And so one day, pretty much out of nowhere, and I mean out of nowhere, I was in the Lake District on one of our little weekends away, as per usual, spending most of our wage on little hotels in the Lake District. And I took a video of a spa and I was like, I have just got so many videos on my phone of amazing places. And I always found, not so much now, but when I first started posting, there was a bit of a gap for very, very valuable travel content. I always would see a picture of a spa and I'd save it and then do my research on it, find out how much it was, how to get to it from the airport, if you could do it in like 2 days or if you needed longer. All the info that you want to know if you were going to book something. I thought there was a gap for this. So I basically decided to start editing a few very short videos. And I mean, like the spa videos would be like 10, 15 seconds and posting them online. And I'd write on screen text saying the prices, where it was, and just give as much information as I possibly can to just make it a very informative, educational and fun travel blog. So I have the most original name. I called it Danielle's Travel Blog. I didn't follow anyone on it that I knew. I wanted it to just be fresh. I didn't want to be scared of posting. So I would post all the time on it. It was a full-on hobby. It was something that I was obsessed with. And I think the power of having like a 0 follower page on Instagram and not really following loads of accounts yourself is that Instagram does, well, at least it did. I think it still does now. It tries to push those videos. It tries to give you a start, especially when you're doing things like reels, savable reels. So I started posting and they were getting about 10k views and I had about 100 followers maximum. And I was like, wow, like people must be really liking this. I found it useful. So I was hoping other people found it useful. They'd send it to their friends, etc. So as I started to build momentum, I'd post maybe every other day, post one of my old videos that I had. Sometimes I'd post live if I was at a venue, but most of the time it was like a bank of old content that I thought I'd share. And one thing I'd learned during my whole time of like building up on social media was that you need to be so true to yourself. It's like I'd never go online and negatively review a place. It's just not me. If I didn't enjoy somewhere that I went, I just wouldn't share it and that would be that. I think there can be so many reasons, especially for small businesses, of why someone could have a bad experience. And being an influencer content creator, you can almost ruin that person's business if your video does go viral. And so my way of being honest and true to myself was I would just post places that I would 1,000,000% come away feeling like I would pay for that again. And that's how I went down that route of, especially things that, like, obviously you could go to places and it might not be the most premium service in the world, but then you've only paid like £30, and there's other places where you might have paid £400, but it wasn't worth that, and vice versa. So I was so honest, so authentic, and just did it for a bit of fun, really. I remember getting our first invite to a hotel in Cornwall, and me and Connor could not believe it. We were like, what the, because you start getting like a few like local restaurant invites and things like that. And I remember getting our first hotel invite, and I was thinking, I can't even tell you how much we were jumping up and down there. We couldn't believe what was going on. We were like, we've been invited to a hotel. What is this? This was like my dream life. And I never want to lose that excitement. I never do now. I'm just so grateful. So we got an invite, right, bearing in mind we live in Liverpool, to a hotel right down south in Cornwall. You're talking about a 6, 7, maybe longer, about 8-hour drive. And it was like a 2-night stay, and you had to post a reel and say it was a gifted stay, etc. So literally we drove 8 hours to Cornwall on a Friday, got there on the Friday night, stayed 2 nights and drove home. And we were buzzing. We were ecstatic. I had a search of it, made sure it's all aligned, went to it. Oh, we just had one of the best weekends ever. And that will be such a core memory for me, because I thought, wow, like there's power in what I'm posting. People are wanting to see more of what I'm posting. Where does this end if I've got my first hotel invite? So I guess that's when I started becoming a bit more strategic and taking it a lot more seriously, and making sure I was providing the best possible content to all my followers, to make sure they were going on the best trips, and to make sure I was positioning myself right in front of brands. And behold, over time, opportunities started pouring in. It's definitely enough for me to start seeing a real path. I remember, because I was still in my full-time job, I remember getting to a point about a year in of my travel blog when I was thinking I was turning down opportunities because I didn't have annual leave. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I need to quit. I need to quit, because I can always go back to engineering. That was my thoughts on it. I can always go back to engineering, but I have to say yes to these opportunities to be able to do well. But I wasn't at the position financially where I could quit. So I stayed longer, built up my following. I couldn't take a huge risk because I needed to get money in the bank to pay my bills, obviously. So it took me about 18 months of building my Instagram before I was at the point where I was like, okay, I got my first paid job. I hit over 100,000 followers. The paid opportunities were just coming in. Instead of people saying, oh, would you come here and do this? People were saying, oh, what do you charge? It completely shifted. I just couldn't believe what was happening, to be honest. I started making sure I was posting on TikTok. After about 1.5 years of building it, I was able to leave my full-time job, which is wild. I knew I could always go back to engineering. I spoke to my team. They were so lovely about it. And here I am. I've now been out of my engineering job. I quit in Jan 2024. So it's 2 years self-employed, which is absolutely wild to me that I'm still cracking on and surviving and thriving. Choosing a different path isn't always glamorous. It can be definitely romanticized. I'm part of that problem, because I absolutely love it, but you do quit a 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Like, that is the sacrifice you make. But if you love what you do, you get the flexibility. It doesn't feel like work. The world is yours with it. You feel like you have limitless potential because you are working for yourself. I don't know. It's a different level of motivation, I found. I am a very glass half full type of person. I'm very positive, and I'm very aware it's a career that could flop, but I am doing everything I can in my power to give it my best shot and make it last for as long as I possibly can. Never felt more like myself and more happy. I am the happiest I think I have ever been in my life. doing all the corporate world and the corporate job for 8 years makes me feel so unbelievably grateful for the opportunities I have now and how I would have dreamt of that situation a couple of years ago. And it's so important to remind yourself of that. I think a lot of happiness in life comes from gratitude. If you can truly appreciate what you have, the simple things in life, family, friends, a roof over your head, I just feel so grateful for the life I have, and I'm going to do all I can to keep it this way. There's lots of inconsistency, there's lots of pressure, there's so much rejection, there's quite a mental load on always needing ideas. But oh my gosh, I care so deeply about it. I want to get so much better. I want to build something so meaningful to people. I want to be the reason people have so many amazing memories in their life. I want them to come to me, ask me. I want to help people out as much as I possibly can. I hope my personality, my positivity rubs off on other people. I want nothing more than other people to be so successful. So if you are curious about content creation, traveling, building online, changing direction in life, or just figuring out what a more aligned version of you could look like, I am so happy you're here, and I'd love for you to follow me along on this journey and subscribe to my channel. That's the first time I've ever said that. On this channel, I will be sharing all the behind the scenes of what I get up to in the creator world, a little bit of personal life, all the practical sides. We're going to delve deep and learn together, look at what platforms currently pay me, what we need to do to get there, how I'd start from scratch, how I get brand deals, what they look like. We can have a look in my inbox every week and see how many emails I get. At the minute, I'm only accepting about 5% of work, maybe less, just because there's literally not enough days to commit to them. And I want to make sure, obviously, it all aligns, because to be a real documentation of what it's like to build as a creator in public. And if you've got any topics of conversation that you're intrigued about, please let me know in the comments. I'm making sure I give you guys what you want. So I guess this is a thank you for coming. Next episode, I am thinking about talking about income streams as a creator. We can go through my analytics and see what I'm earning on each platform. I can do a weekly vlog. So let me know what you're thinking, if you need help with anything, and I can give my insight on that as well. Thank you so much for joining, guys, and I will be here every Monday at 6 p.m. from next week. Bye.